Hey guys, it's KetoDick. Electrolytes, try two. Right? So I've had a lot of complaints about people going through the Christmas season. Maybe they were moving around a lot. Maybe they were chasing kids. Maybe they were shopping, traveling in general. But these outputs of energy where people feel like they're exercising a little bit more than they typically do, and they say, I've been getting really exhausted on keto. I can't understand why it is I'm so tired. And if you're doing some sort of explosive anaerobic activity, like say playing a long game of soccer or basketball, keto is not going to necessarily be the optimum metabolic state for you to perform in. But if you're doing something like walking or hiking, jogging, or general household activities and you're getting tired, the problem is not probably your glucose or the fact that you're keto. It's actually probably your electrolytes. And it's a little weird to think about electrolytes and energy, but it makes more sense in that the fact that, first of all, most people have only ever heard of electrolytes in the context of Gatorade. So Gatorade does contain electrolytes, but not a ton of them. Neither does Mio electrolytes. Check the back of that package, look at the percentage of your electrolytes that are supplied by one glass of Mio, and you have to drink Mio continuously your entire life to meet your electrolytes goal. So if you have one glass of Mio a day and you think you're dealing with your electrolytes, unfortunately that's not true. Also, what are electrolytes? Most people know the word electrolytes, and if you ask them how they're dealing with their electrolytes, they can't name the electrolytes. So first of all, let's talk about the electrolytes. There's sodium, there's potassium, there's magnesium, and there's calcium. All four are kind of hard to get given the types of foods that we eat on the ketogenic diet. But the two that we're going to talk about most specifically today are potassium and sodium. Now, potassium and sodium are important not just in absolute values, but in ratio of one to the other. So too much sodium with a potassium deficit or too much potassium with a sodium deficit can cause problems. So when people think about getting their potassium, a lot of people make the mistake of going to the pharmaceutical department and they pick up some sort of potassium. Now, first of all, many of those potassiums that are potassium supplements only contain something like 4% of your daily amount anyways. So then you have mistakes that people make where they're taking numerous potassium pills and so forth. It's really not wise. Also, there's other forms of potassium that are intended to be used as diuretics and so forth, so you can buy the wrong kind of potassium in pill form where it's not nutritional potassium, but rather a drug that's intended to have an effect. Also, it's a little uncommon for me to look all disheveled when I do the KetoDick videos on the KetoDick page. Usually I reserve looking like this for my Keto Basic group, where people post a lot of before and after pictures in their underwear and are really honest about their bathroom problems. So I try to take it down a notch appearance-wise and make sure that I'm making myself accessible and being willing to show my true self. So let's talk about what are your electrolytes needs, right? So originally the RDA for sodium was set at about 3,500, and the reason for this is some people have salt-sensitive hypertension. But they've since discovered that salt-sensitive hypertension is largely relegated to a specific group of people with genetic predisposition to have salt-sensitive hypertension. So if you're not on any sort of blood pressure medication or you have not been given sodium warnings from your doctor, then the odds are that that 3,500 number doesn't really apply to you. Okay, so then a retrospective study was done recently that looked at all-cause mortality, or every single reason that you could die, and what groups of people based on what levels of consumption of what nutrients lived how long versus their expectancy. And they found that the optimum level of sodium intake was about 5,000. And furthermore, they found that there was a greater risk of early death from having 3,500 than there was from having 6,500. So they not only established that the RDA amount, which was previously a limit, was probably insufficient for most of the population, they also looked at the fact that it was more dangerous to be under than over. So it's important to get your sodium. So I look at total daily sodium consumption of about being in the 5,000 milligrams range. And potassium, the RDA, is 4,700. Now, I would prefer people get as much of this as they can from their food. But short of highly processed foods and carbohydrates, which are capable of concealing a lot of sodium, you're not going to see a lot of sodium in vegetables. You're not going to see a lot of sodium in meat. Even heavily salted meats tend to exude that salt during the exothermic heat process. They basically sweat out the salts onto the pan a lot. So where is your salt coming from? So for people that aren't keto, there's a lot of salt in things like mashed potatoes or whatever else. You put a fairly significant amount of salt in most starches to make them palatable. And things like potato chips, pretzels, all that kind of stuff that we don't have anymore. So you need to consider your salt. Furthermore, the state that you're in metabolically when you're in ketosis causes you to have less of an ability to retain salts. Furthermore, salts, both sodium and potassium, will be excreted through the urinary system, and people on keto drink a little bit more water than people that don't. So you have a little bit higher load of water passing through, which causes you to pass that water, and then you have a little bit less ability to retain it. So it's important to maintain your electrolytes. The great news about electrolytes is if you're thinking right now like, oh no, I drink Mio or I do Gatorade or I don't have any kind of electrolyte plan and I'm tired. The great news about electrolytes, other than some other vitamins and minerals that take a while to build up inside the body, is electrolytes pass through pretty instantly. They're, if you drink an electrolyte beverage in the morning, you should feel better before lunch. It's a very quick response. So let's get to the electrolytes themselves and what I recommend doing for electrolytes, what I do myself, and what are some options you can do. First of all, let's discuss salting your food. So people say I salt my food. This right here is the amount of potassium, that's potassium chloride in the form of NoSalt. So looking down on this dish, that is a ton of salt. That is only 3,000 milligrams of potassium with no sodium in it, right? So when you look at that big pile of salt, that's 3,000 milligrams of potassium. Now, you need 4,700 a day, so probably 1,700 is coming from your food. Maybe not. Track your food, look at what you're eating. But 3,000 would be a reasonable supplement amount, okay? You're not going to put that probably on your food without really concentrating on it. Now let's go over to the salt. Now, one of the things that I've discovered, things you learn along the way, is that when supplementing with salt, the issue with supplementing too heavily with normal table salt or light salt, which I recommended in the past, is that it can contain iodine. And if it contains iodine, then frequently the amount of salt that you will need for your RDA of sodium will take you over your amount of iodine. So the way you can get around that is by using something like sea salt or kosher salt. So that's where we have kosher salt here. But again, that's a giant pile of kosher salt spread out over the bottom of this. That's the entire bottom of a 1 cup Pyrex dish. Is this 1 cup? I can't see. So that's a significant amount of salt. Now, I can't talk about electrolytes on keto without getting out some of the pink stuff, right? Pink Himalayan salt, right? I don't recommend pink Himalayan salt, but you'll notice if I put these 3 salts down here that the one that's the biggest pile is actually the pink salt. So if we go over top here, you can see that the pink salt covers more of the bottom than anything else. It actually needed the most tablespoons. It had the least sodium per tablespoon of salt. So that's a tremendous amount of this pink salt. So I don't think you're putting that on your food every day. That's 3,000 milligrams of pink salt, right? So we got our pink salt, we got our kosher salt, we got our NoSalt. So people ask me, where's potassium chloride come from? This is the brand I use. It's called NoSalt. There's also NoSalt. It's just potassium chloride. There shouldn't be any reason that any brand gets it right or wrong unless they fully contaminated it in some way. So, NoSalt or NoSalt is excellent as a supplement for your potassium. And the sea salt you used was actually, wasn't sea salt, it was Morton's kosher coarse salt. I'm aware this is backwards for you guys, but that's the nature of Facebook. And the Himalayans was this Old Thompson pink Himalayan salt, right? Now what I actually use for my sodium and recommend to people is this. The Urbox chicken bouillon cubes, but you can get any, type that you want. It doesn't really matter. Look for it to have too many of too many carbs and stuff. Some of them have some maltodextrin sweeteners and stuff like that. In trace amounts, this is not going to mess with your keto. I've been using chicken bouillon cubes 3 times a day for weeks and months and managed to maintain positive for ketones the whole time while losing weight. So to me, the chicken bouillon is a delicious way to get 3,000. Because remember, in terms of sea salt, this is the amount of sea salt that you need to take in 3,000, or 3 chicken bouillon cubes, where if you have 3 cups of bouillon, like 3 cups of coffee, it's not hard to get down the bouillon that way. And in each cup of this, I put 1/4 teaspoon of NoSalt, and a 1/4 teaspoon of NoSalt is 640 milligrams of potassium. So that's my go-to electrolyte drink. I take in 1,100 milligrams of sodium via the bouillon cube, and then I take 640 of potassium via the NoSalt. And so if I drink 3 of those a day, that puts me at 3,300 supplementation of sodium and a little over 1,800 supplementation of potassium, which still isn't up to our levels of 4,700 a day, but that puts a real dent in things. And then I use the NoSalt to salt my food. Now, I used to recommend light salt, and the reason that I've moved to NoSalt is because I've been getting the sodium from other things like bouillon. I find sodium easier to source, so therefore I go with the NoSalt. I just had another pop-up. This time it was my iTunes asking me to sign in. I have Do Not Disturb on. I hope it doesn't truncate this video, but it may. So I'm going to wrap it up just in case it does. But you need to consider where you're getting your salts. The other way that some people do it is they use what they call Soleil water, which is like a fancy shishi word for salt water. So some people put these salts together, they put them into a bottle of water, and they spread it out over 1 liter or 2 liters of their drinking water a day. And they mix it in sometimes with lemon juice or something else to make it more palatable. Now, I find drinking the salt water to be a little gross, but if I'm short on time and I don't have time to make bouillon and drink it, then I will jump straight to just making myself a little salt water. But if you're feeling low energy on keto, the odds are that you're not addressing your electrolytes properly, and you need to consider them. And salting your food is not enough. 0 Gatorade's probably not enough. Meal electrolytes is probably not enough. So if you want to feel better and have more energy throughout your day while you're on keto, the problem is probably not the ketogenic diet. The problem is probably insufficient electrolyte supplementation. But the good news is that NoSalt and NoSalt are cheap. Herbox bouillon is 25 cubes for $3 or $2.89, something like that. Kosher salt, it's the cheapest supplement you can take. So look at your electrolytes, consider them, especially if your energy levels are low. If you're getting any sort of muscle cramps or heart palpitations or headaches, then you should consider your electrolytes. This has been a KetoDick short in the morning, and hopefully this one posts because the last one crashed. I'm still having a lot of trouble with my iPhone, guys. My camera roll corrupted, and I'm trying to get all the stuff off my phone so that I can have space and reinstall the operating system. But I do all these broadcasts on my phone, and the large file size from the videos is really fighting me at the minute. But I want to re-engage the group because a lot of people are restarting or trying to turn up, now that they're past the holidays, they're trying to turn up their rate of weight loss. So I want to help those people keep on track, even though my life is a complete mess at the moment. I had the 7th water damage incident in my kitchen on Sunday, and it flooded the apartment downstairs. So I have an Airbnb person in my basement. Poor guy has dehumidifiers running in his bedroom right now, and I'm having to compensate him for the flooding, and it's a mess. So I will try to get my life back in order, but I wanted to pop on and get this electrolytes video done because a lot of people were really interested in it. So go to your kitchens, find a teaspoon, find the salts that you're using, measure out a day's worth of your salts, and look at that and start thinking about getting that into your food or into your drink. Soleil water, bouillon supplemented with potassium, NoSalt. It really help your energy levels. And the other thing that may be enticing to some people is a lot of your weight fluctuations or why you can't see your weight loss on the scale. A lot of your water retention is driven by salt imbalances and not having regular salts. Salts will cause the water retention, which is good. It's fine You know, the whole thing is like, oh, I'm retaining water. That's fine. Your body wants to retain some water. It's important. Also on the way out, hi to Ginger, Don Robbins Sloan is a new one, Colleen Field, who's been here all the time, Lisa MC, popular contributing member, Josh, who was recently on television in Pittsburgh for his Spare Change. If you're into charity, if you're into music, watch Spare Change on YouTube. I think they're on episode 11, maybe 12. I think they're working on 12. Arvid, who started at 400 pounds and is now down in his 2-somethings, says he uses the Herbox bouillon as well. It hasn't hurt his weight loss. And Kristen Broussard, who rides an awful lot of bike. She goes miles and miles on her bike. Says she needs to be better about her electrolytes, and for her, and especially because she works out so hard, I would say that those electrolytes are going to make a big impact for her. So I'm glad that you guys came to my video today. I'll try to make these more regularly, but shorter ones for a little while until I get my 2018 underway. I do a lot of end-of-year planning. I do a lot of goal setting in January, and a lot of that's kind of introverted and private. So I kind of duck my friends and hide in January, plus the phone dying in the kitchen floor. I know. I remember Arvid offered to help me with my kitchen floor when I got water damage on it in August, and I decided to let it go for now because it wasn't that bad. I'm glad, because water damage happened the exact same spot now. So I saved myself some trouble in August, but it seems like now it's time to get quotes for the floor. So I got a guy coming over to quote ripping out my whole kitchen through all of my living room, and that flooring needs to be put back in on the Airbnb's roof, which nobody's going to be happy about. So I got to write some letters to my Airbnb guests, offering them refunds or discounts or cancellations if they want to book somewhere else. So real life, huh? Doesn't help with the meal prep either. Also this morning, I'm going to dig into some of the fiber tabs that were sent to me from my Amazon wish list. I'm also going to have one of those Quest bars today that was sent to me by a group member, and I will do a review on the flavors of the Quest bars for that group member as well. And another group member sent me a Silpat mat for my cooking and baking, so I really appreciate that. As to those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, I've decided that I don't want to do this for anything other than donations. I don't want to charge hourly rates or do meal planning or coaching or tell people that there's an extra group I pay more attention to for $30 a month, or that I will coach a private group or private coaching, because that takes me away from people that maybe don't have the means for that or are on a limited budget. Maybe they're rural and don't have access to their doctor, etc. Maybe they've got 3 kids and their money should be going elsewhere. So I want this information to be accessible for everybody, but I do have an Amazon wish list with mostly keto stuff on it, also some production stuff for making these videos and so forth. So and the other thing is, I've told people, don't get me anything if you're financially stressed. I don't want your money. Don't get me anything unless you've already lost some weight. But if you've already lost some weight and you feel like I had something to do with that and you'd like to give back, there was a wish list, and a couple people have sent me presents, and it's been absolutely wonderful to see those things in the mail. They brighten my day just like the testimonials do, and they help me keep on course. I use some of those fiber pills throughout the holidays to help keep things regular when I was intentionally off diet for a period of time. And there were a couple of times over the holidays where I was just too busy, and so I grabbed one of those Quest bars, and that helped keep me on track when I needed quick snacks. So I really appreciate that. You guys are helping me with my keto. I'm helping you with your keto, and hopefully that little error message from iTunes doesn't mess up this video and cut it off halfway, because I like the end half too. But we've covered most of what I want. For those of you who came in late, we were looking at the amount of salt that you need. This is 3,000 milligrams of Himalayan salt. This here is 3,000 milligrams of kosher salt, and this here is 3,000 milligrams of potassium in the form of NoSalt. So when you look at that, and your potassium is 4,700 and your sodium should be about 5,000, salting your food is going to be a challenge unless you find some way to put electrolytes into your beverages, which could be Soleil water, or it could be, as I recommend, I go with a bouillon cube and a 1/4 teaspoon of NoSalt 3 times a day. That gets me 3,300 in sodium and 1,800 in potassium, and then I mostly salt my food with the NoSalt because I found it easier to get the sodium. So, those are my electrolyte secrets. A lot of people have been having problems with the electrolytes. This video goofed the other day. Hopefully this one will be better. Also, for those of you who want to give back, but maybe you're short on money, share this video to one of your other keto groups. Send this video to a friend. Post it on your wall. Expand the reach. Likes and favorites, comments on this video, all of those things help me succeed. They help me find more people, and they help those people find this information. More people in the group, more people that follow this page will see this video on their wall if you like, comment, or favorite. So whenever you see these other keto guys doing their videos, they'll say, tell me where you're watching from. How cold is it outside? It's 32 where I am in State College. I want to hear where you're from. Are you from Boise, Idaho? Are you from Notre Dame? Are you from Georgia? Sorry about the national championship loss. Are you from Alabama? Roll Tide. And then people will scroll at the bottom where they're from, and they'll tell you what, and then they'll say, if this is your first time watching my video, type 1. If this is the second time you've seen one of my videos, type 2. If you're a regular member, type 4. And all those people will type that stuff at the bottom, and that's called engagement baiting. And the reason for that is that the Facebook algorithm propagates this video to more people's feed, the more people interact with it. So they ask these easy questions and give me comments to drive up their engagement. So anytime you watch my videos, I try to stay away from that as much as I can, but the truth is it works on Facebook. So by all means, engage these videos to help other people see them. Love you guys, and I wish you all the best in your Januaries. I'll be back more often. I'm not saying goodbye for January. Bye.